How's it going, everybody? I wanted to cover some stuff that's happened recently in the certification world. If you have been keeping up with anything recently, or you've been, perusing any certification sites or anything like that, you probably have come across this update business that they're talking about. A whole bunch of noise that's been going on lately. Well, if you were at Cisco Live in San Diego, I was fortunately able to attend. And in the keynote speech, they dropped a bombshell. Actually, it was quite a few bombshells, actually, if you ask me. Well, they updated everything, literally everything. However, that's figuratively incorrect. They left CCDE and CCAR alone. So the CCIE, all the engineering certification tracks, so CCIE, CCNA, CCNP, have all been turned upside down and shook around, however you want to put it, and bottled back up and sent out to you. So what do we do with that? How do we make heads or tails of it? I'm hopefully going to help you understand that a little bit more in this video. So, the CCIE updates. I'm not going to worry about the CCNA or the CCNP because that stuff's already been covered. I haven't seen anybody really do a good job of breaking down any of the CCIE updates, so I felt like I would take a crack at it. So if you've already watched somebody else break down the CCIE updates, hey, great. I focus primarily on CCIEs. I've already got one. I'm working on my second one. I no longer really focus at all on CCNP unless it's needed for work-wise. Because I work as a full-time instructor, oftentimes I get certified just so that I have the credential to say that we have somebody certified in that particular area that's qualified to teach the material. That's really the driver behind that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into some of the details that we need to know as engineers. So the very first one we're going to cover is going to be the bombshell one, which is, well, one moment, I must have missed the dun dun dun. Routing and switching is going away. I know. I was like, wait, what? It's actually really, it's a funny story, and I don't know if the guy would remember talking to me about it, but I actually didn't realize that the entire certification portfolio had been turned upside down and they redid everything. When I was in the boot camp, the keynote, I was in the keynote. I'm sitting there next to some of the guys that I work with and whatnot, and as I'm sitting there, I saw the Cisco Certified DevNet certification pop up, and I'm like, oh, okay. Now you got to remember, there's 10,000-15,000 people in this auditorium, and you've got this these gigantic what's the word I'm looking for? Not billboard, but this. If you go to a basketball game, you got that little thing that goes in the middle that announces what's happening. Whatever they call that thing, in the middle there, and you're able to, it's like his, Chuck Robbins, when he's talking, he's the size of a Lego man. As far away as I am from him. But he seems pretty realistic and big on the screen, so I follow that. So as I'm sitting there listening to the updates, I'm like, okay. I see Cisco Certified DevNet. I'm like, oh, that's cool. They're giving a nod to the folks that want to be programmers and still know a little bit about networking. Good on them. I completely missed the other very, very large point. I didn't notice the Cisco Certified Specialist, but I've known about the CCNA, CCNP, and CCIE forever. So I was like, okay, so they're adding a new certification maybe? I don't know. I completely disregarded it because I was more focused on taking the service provider written exam at Cisco Live. I actually did really, really well. I didn't pass, but I came really close to it. So I've been spending the last month or so ramping back up. I'm planning on taking the written exam here in the very near future, and I will give you guys all an update as to how that plays out. So, routing and switching has been replaced with enterprise infrastructure, and it was actually kind of funny because later that same day, I am outside because of the fact that we went to San Diego. Usually I bring my wife with me, and we make it usually a couple's retreat, if you will. But normally, right around that point in time, we also take a family vacation. So I didn't trust my oldest son to deal with his brother getting, because they very rarely ever fly, I think. And whenever he has flown, is he responsible? Is he, mature? Yes, all of that and more. Extremely proud of the kid. However, he's when he gets overwhelmed, he starts to freeze up. I didn't want to have him deal with any of the pressures of getting him and his brother through security. So long story short, when we flew out to San Diego, we brought the kids with us. It was easier just to do that. It was easy. He didn't have to worry about anything because mom and dad were there, and I fly quite a bit. So long story short, we flew the family out with us to San Diego. We had a hotel room. All that stuff was working out great. Anyway, I'm at the pickup and drop-off location of the San Diego Convention Center, and I'm talking to this other CCIE who's a route switch guy. He's a solutions architect for CDW. We get to talking. He sees my CCIE badge, I see his, and we, well, what track are you in? Da 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 da. And then he brings up this. Well, I would have gone for wireless, but they switched it to enterprise wireless, and I'm like, what? And he goes, oh, you didn't hear? I'm like, hear what? Like, I was completely clueless to this whole update. And so he goes and he starts to break down what happened. And I'm like, I had no clue. When I say I had no clue, I'm like, here I am, an instructor, work for a training company focusing on Cisco technologies. Like, I had mind blown. Like, all right. What do we do now? So, long story short, I get back to the hotel room, and I'm looking over these updates, and I'm reading through them, and I'm like, holy cow. And I must have spent 2 hours going back and forth between the Cisco website, the Cisco Certification Learning Network, and I'm bouncing back and forth. So yeah, I had no idea. It took me a few hours to get my head wrapped around it. So I don't really want to focus on NA or NP or anything like that, but I will focus on the specifics to the CCIE, because I feel like that's where I spend the majority of my time, is CCIE. So let's begin. So the new exam launches on February 24th, 2020. However, I don't think that they're going to have live exams. And I think what they're going to do is they're going to have a period of time after that, probably till the first or second week of March is what I'm guessing, so that they can move everything over to the new hardware and stuff like that for the new exams and the new software and equipment that they're going to have to be using and stuff like that. That's just my guess. So I do not believe that February 24th will be a live date. I think that'll be when the new program launches, but I don't think that's when. For those of you that are looking to take a CCIE, the lab exam, I think February 24th won't be a day you'll be able to test on. However, what's actually kind of funny is February 23rd is the last day to test, and that happens to be a Sunday. So if you are looking to take the lab then, hey, go for it. If you want to sneak right in at the very end. Now, when it comes to routing and switching, Enterprise, it's been revamped completely. And I'll talk briefly about the NP program, because the written exam that you guys and I are traditionally familiar with is going away. The CCIE written exam for all the tracks is going away, except for DE. This does not apply to Design Expert. The DE, or the written exam that we all know and love so much, that's a burden to us all, is going away. And it's being replaced with the CCNP core exam for whatever particular track you're going after. In this particular case, it's Enterprise Core 300-401. Now, I'm actually for this because I think it's a good idea for forward progress. What that means is, from a CCNP perspective, that annoying prerequisite of having a CCNA before you jump into CCNP, that's gone. You can jump right into a CCNP if you want to. If you've been doing this stuff for 10 years and you don't want to wait around, hey, jump right into a CCNP and go get it. If you already have a CCNP and you're on February 24th, I should say, if you have any active Cisco certifications, period, in the enterprise track, not design or AR, on February 24th, you'll get new certifications, new badges, new specialist badges, etc., etc. So I won't go into how all that stuff works, but what basically is going to end up happening is if you have a CCNP and route switch, you have a CCIE and route switch, like I do, you're automatically going to be transferred or auto-migrated into the new CCIE Enterprise Infrastructure Certification, so you'll automatically have that. And you'll also be given the CCNP Enterprise Core Specialization Badge, and I think the Advanced Implementation Badge as well. And the reason why they're giving you that is because you had a CCNP and route switch already, and voila, here you go. Now, if you already have a CCNP and route switch, and when you get migrated to the new exam, one question I've commonly seen is, well, I still have to take the written exam. If you have not already taken the current CCIE written exam, then you'll still have to take the written exam. Whether it's the current exam or you take the Enterprise Core exam, you need to take that's your written qualifier. You won't be able to be a CCNP and then get migrated, earn the certification, and voila, there you go. It doesn't work that way. And I like that. I don't think they should just let people come in. I think you should earn it like everybody else did. Now, several new additions to the exam. They have made CCIE Enterprise Infrastructure a beast of an exam. I mean, I've read through the blueprint and I'm just like, I'm glad I passed when I passed. I'll be 100% honest with you, because what they've added to the exam is it's a ball buster. No BS. It's gonna kick a lot of people's butts. So they've added a lot of SDN to the new exam, which is kind of the reason why they did all of these changes, is to automation and programmability and things like that. My chroma key is way off. But so enterprise infrastructure replaces routing and switching, which was my biggest shock to me. And there's new exam additions. So let's talk about what does the new exam add. Well, for routing and switching, or enterprise infrastructure specifically, it adds a software-defined infrastructure as a core portion of the exam, which covers SD-WAN and SD-Access. Now, one of the things that I find interesting about the new CCNPs is they're modular now. So you have the core exam, and then you also have the some other concentration exams. The idea is, with the concentration exams, is if you take the concentration exams for your particular area, take all of them, that'll get you ready for CCIE. That's the simplest way to put it. Now, SD-WAN can be done all 100% virtually, and I plan on doing some demos on how that comes out in the future, but I still have to learn how Viptela kind of does all their thing, and I understand from a basic idea of how, vBond, vManage, vSmart, vEdge, all that type of stuff comes together and works. I have to put a lot of effort into working with that and getting it up and running and seeing exactly how all that stuff works. SD access is going to be the Achilles heel for most folks, because in order for SD access to work, you need DNA Center and you need the Catalyst 9K switches. Now, you can do some things with CSR 1000Vs, but it's extremely limited from what I understand. I'm still learning SD access because it's still a relatively new technology, and I have to dive more into the details, but you need hardware in order for this to work the way that they expect it to. Now, they've added dual hub DMVPN Phase 3 and FlexVPN with IKE-v2 and MPLS over FlexVPN. Now, they don't specifically state, and one of the things that I need to clarify here is normally on the exam you're going to have a describe, you're going to have an implement, verify, troubleshoot type of thing, and stuff like that. There's none of that verbiage in the exam topics. So the way that I'm reading everything is you need to be able to do everything. There isn't a single thing that they won't potentially test you on from an implementation perspective. So in Route Switch version 5, you had DMVPN, but it was one hub. Where here they've got dual hub, and Phase 3, which means the spokes can talk to each other. They're talking about IKE-v2, which means that you're not going to be using IKE-v1. IP2 is going to allow you to play around with different types of authentication mechanisms. Pre-shared key on one side and then a certificate on the other, or two different pre-shared keys, and so on and so forth. Now, MPLS over FlexVPN, I've never seen this done before, but one of those things I'm going to have to definitely play around with. Now they've added in 802.1x port-based authentication, so which means you're going to be dealing with ICE. How much ICE? I really don't know, because one of the things that I also noticed on there was secure group tags or micro-segmentation. So I'm going to have to dive into how SGT... I understand from a fundamental perspective of how SGTs work, but I need to dive into the meat and potatoes and see exactly how this all comes into play. We'll talk about the versions of code that you're going to be expected to know here in just a moment per exam, because I'll be covering service provider here in just a minute. But that's one of those things. VRF-aware NAT is a new one that wasn't on the version 5 raw switch exam, and they've added in the infrastructure automation and programmability. So that's 15%, where at some point in your exam you'll be expected to use some sort of automation or programmability tool to configure something on a router or switch. So I don't know what that's going to look like, but you're still going to know it. How deep do you go? It's anybody's guess, to be honest with you. So that's one of the things that I'm going to be having to play around with a little bit. I'm going to have to learn a little bit of Python, RESTconf, so on and so forth, netconf. That's all right. I'm not afraid to learn the technology. I just need to know. My thing is, if I'm going to learn something new, where is it applicable, and why do I have to need it? So they've answered those questions for me already, so I'm not going to bring those up over again. So what does the new exam remove? Well, there's no layer 2 WAN circuits anymore. So your PPP and HDLC, all that stuff, get rid of it. The reason why is because there's no, as far as I can tell, IOL, which is the platform you were tested on the CCIE Route Switch version 5 exam, is no longer being used. They're actually leveraging basically viral images is what it looks like, and anything they can't use in viral, they're using physical hardware for. And they also, it looks like the VTI. However, that's just, I don't see VTI explicitly written on the exam. So could it potentially still be used? Sure, absolutely. Actually, one of the things that you'll see, it doesn't directly relate to FlexVPN, but it's similar in nature. The dynamic VTI for the FlexVPN hubs. But I'll be covering topics like that here in the near future. So one of the big things that a lot of people are curious about is what equipment and software is used. So virtual machines, they're going to be using pretty much everything viral related. So if you have access to viral, you'd be in really good shape. 16.12 isn't even released at the time of this recording. You can't even get access to it. You can get 16.11 and download that, and it'll work in Eve. I've got a couple virtual machines running inside of ES6i as well, just to play around with it. Now I don't know, as I haven't tested this out yet, how easy it is to convert from iOS over to SD-WAN code. What that process looks like, I have no idea. I will be covering that in the near future, because I want to know, for the sake of, if I ever leave the training game and go back to engineering, I'm going to want to know it. iOS 15.8, not even released yet for iOSB. 15.2, currently a current release. Right now you can get 15.6 and you get 16.11. Is there going to be much of a difference? I honestly don't know. 18.4 is currently available today. If you wanted to download that from Cisco, you can. Now they're going to be talking about physical equipment. They're going to be talking about the 9300 series switches and DNA Center or DNAC 1.4, which I believe is the latest release. 16.12 code, which is the latest and greatest iOS XE code. And then when it comes down to virtual machines, you can download and run ICE 2.6 and Windows 10 Pro and Ubuntu 18.04 LTS. So those are going to be the platforms that they're going to be testing you on. And why is my chroma key giving me such a hard time? Let me go adjust that real quick. It's bugging me. So that doesn't really help. Waste of time. But these are the things that we're going to have to know for our exam. What am I going to be doing? I'm really not sure yet. What I do know is I will be covering a lot of this stuff on, I don't know how I'm going to be covering it. I'll be doing a bunch of material on it because I want to know it anyway. So, for example, if you are currently studying for your routing and switching version 5 exam, and like you're partway through your testing phase, you're learning all the technologies, all that type of stuff, and you don't think you'll be ready by February, that's okay. Because everything that you're learning is not in vain. So the drawback to it is if you take the current blueprint, we'll say the current blueprint is, this is the entire thing, it's 100%. They're taking that 100% and they're actually squishing it down to 60%. And the other 40% is now software-defined stuff, automation and programmability, and then software-defined infrastructure. So your SD-WAN, SD-access, automation, programmability, that's making up the other 40%. So if you only know the routing and switching version 5 technologies, and you think I'm just going to go in there and bang out a CCIE in enterprise, it's not going to work. Straight up not going to work. One other cool thing is the diagnostic section, out the door, gone, no longer there. They've changed over the format to a two module format. So you have 3 hours of design, and you have 5 hours of implement, operate, optimize, troubleshoot, I think is what they said. So, and the idea now is, and so one of the first things I saw when I was reading through the blueprint, I went right to the Cisco Certification Lounge when I got to Cisco Live the second day, and actually right after my 8 a.m. session. I went right there, I walked in and I said, hey, I have a question about this design thing. I don't do any design work right now. Although I have been an architect in the past, I still fancy myself an architect as well. I could do architecture if I wanted to. I said, but isn't this like a shot on CCDE? And like, I'm standing in front of probably, I don't know, 30 other people, and most of them were, you know, they saw me, nobody even noticed me come in, not a big deal, didn't really care. I walked in, I said that, and then like 5 people, like, whoosh, and I was just like, okay. And she said, great question. No, it does not. Because CCDE focuses on the high level design. This is going to be talking to the customer, figuring out what they want to do, restrictions, requirements, blah, 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 blah. The low level design is what the design section of the CCIE lab is going to be focusing on. Okay, now that you understand what they want, here's more specific information. What would you do? What technologies would you apply? What licensing? Well, licensing doesn't really come into play here, but what technologies would you apply? How would you apply them? Etc. 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 The other thing that they told me, and I guess we won't know if this is true or not until people start sitting for the lab, is when you sit for this exam, then they're telling me that whatever the topology you get in design, you'll also get the same one in the operate, optimize, and implement, or implement, optimize, troubleshoot, whatever that damn name is. The implement, optimize, and troubleshoot in the second half. The first half topology should be the same as the second half topology. And my guess, and I'm completely speculating here, is whatever you came up with over here is going to be, you're going to have to do some level of that design work you did. You're actually going to put that bad boy into play over here. That's just a guess. So if you were wrong over here, it's obvious to me, the way that I'm interpreting it, is whatever you're tasked with configuring is going to be, whatever they wanted you to answer over here is going to be what you implement over here. That's just my guess. I honestly have no idea. And this is the only reason I'm speculating that is because The folks that I know that have taken the CCDE lab, if they were going down a specific path for a design solution or what they would do to for a particular scenario, if the exam engine wanted them to go path B but they went path A, it would, you know, like give them indicators towards the end of the scenario that they should have gone another direction. That's what I'm guessing is going to happen. Speculation here, I have no idea. So that is what you guys get to see. So I'll be putting out little bits of content here. I'm going to be trying to do my best for everything virtual. So I'll show you how to install ICE 2.6 and get it up and running, and then anything that relates to I plan on putting out material for anything that deals with ICE in the new exam, stuff like that, SD-WAN in the near future, stuff like that. As a matter of fact, if you watch the intro to this video, I have another YouTube channel that'll be specifically focused on I lost my train of thought. Specifically focused on exam topics. So it'll be labeled service provider or enterprise infrastructure or security, etc., etc. So just keep an eyeball at that. Check out the Simplified Networking YouTube channel, and there's also a website, simplified-networking.com. Go check out that website. I'll be putting material out on that, but that'll be more workbook focused. The videos are going to go on YouTube, and they're not going to be really long videos. My goal is 10 to 20 minutes per topic, so that somebody isn't sitting there going, oh my god, I have to sit for 45 minutes to listen to Rob babble. So anyway, that's pretty much that. So next thing, SPv4 .1 to SPv5. Yay! I am currently going at breakneck speed trying to get SPv4 done, because right now, momentarily here, I've got a bunch of Slack updates coming through, and people just all of a sudden want to talk to me, and like, I don't want to talk to you right now. So, SPv5 coming out, a lot of the same stuff that SPv4 covered. So, again, new exam launches. You'll take the SP Core 300-501 exam. If you already have a CCNP and service provider, you'll get a couple of nods. If you have a CCIE and service provider, you automatically you do not get migrated to a new exam. Okay, because the SP track is not being completely redone here. It's only the CCIE routing and switching. Several new additions to the exam. SDN is now core on the new exam, but not as heavy of an implementation. At least not directly stated anyway. There's some stuff that's kind of written into the weeds a little bit. You have to understand how the SP program works. So the new exam is updated by SPv5 and new exam additions. So really, honestly, the new exam additions, there's only a sprinkling of new topics that really aren't that big of a deal. You can go to the blueprint and do a side-by-side comparison. So the new exam itself, segment routing is everywhere. So segment routing in the current blueprint, from what I hear, is becoming more and more prevalent. You're going to be tested on it more and more, and the reason why is because, to my understanding, in the Service Provider 4.0, the versions of code, which I believe was XR 5.2, segment routing wasn't that mature yet, and implementation wise, you really didn't have a lot of flexibility. And in v4.1, they upgraded to XR 6.0, which is what I've been working on for the past year or so. I've gotten pretty familiar with the syntax, stuff like that. And then what they're going to be doing is taking segment routing and putting it everywhere. Now, if you're working on the current track, 3.14 is the current code that they are supposedly going to be testing you on, which means iOS XE or the CSR 1000V should not support segment routing. I've been running 3.17 because I want to test it out, make sure I understand how it works. So my assumption is that you'll only be tested on segment routing on XR based implementations. So we'll be playing around with segment routing, and I plan on putting out content for SP as well. But if I do anything segment routing, it'll be XR specific and stuff like that. But currently, I've got a bunch of topologies that I've been playing around with for inter-AS VPN, and other technologies. And right so far, the way that it's been working out is if I want to use segment routing, then I have to use XR to really play with that. But it's a very, very basic implementation. There's really nothing complex about it. Assurance and automation is about 20% of the exam, which is like the only new additions. The new exams remove multi-point GRE technology, so no more MGRE L3 VPN. That's pretty much all I can see that's different. They didn't really seem to remove a whole lot of anything. It's mostly just the GRE technologies. The equipment and lab use code that they're using XR 6.5, which is one of the latest releases. If you're using Viral, you can get 6.2.2 currently as of today. I just checked the update. I just tried to upgrade it before I started this video. 6.2.2 is the best you can get, and to my understanding, and I still have to test this out, that if you're going to be running Viral for this, that Layer 2 VPN is supported on XR. So XRV, it was not. XRV 9K, it is. So I've only tested Layer 2 point-to-point VPNs, but I'm still going to be testing that out, but I'm going to be doing that in XR specifically, that in PBB eVPN. So I'll be spinning up like, I don't know, 2 or 3 XRV 9K boxes in Viral, and maybe 1 or 2, what do you call it, CSR 1000Vs running 16.6 code, and playing around with some basic implementations of that. So there is actually a couple pretty good books on how segment routing or SR works, and I recommend you guys check that out. They're available through Amazon. Just, I forget the author's name. I didn't ask him if it was okay if I name drop. So if you look on Amazon and look up segment routing, there's 2 books. There's a part 1 and a part 2. I've got part 1 that I've already bought. I'll be getting part 2 here soon as I dive into it, because regardless of where I fall in, whether I pass version 4.1 or I pass version 5, I'm still going to be putting out material for it. So that's where that is. I will be playing around with I'm going to try to download the NSO platform. I don't even really know what that is, so I'm going to be playing around with that if I can gain access to it. But other than that, guys, that is what I'm going to be playing around with. So one of the things that I wanted to point out to you guys is it says ASR 1000 series running XC 16.5 and Cisco Edge routers 16.6. So they mean CSRs. So to my understanding, the way that the new exams are going to be laid out is it's going to be XR and CSRs running almost the latest versions of code. So with that being said, those are, oh, sorry, now I remember what they removed on the exam. So Lisp is gone. There's no more Lisp. Could you still be tested on Unified MPLS? Sure, you sure could. So I'll be doing my best to try to put out some content here in the near future. I don't know how, it's going to be probably pretty sporadic with my training schedule right now, but that's what's up. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave me. My email address will be in the description below. And until next time, guys, have a good one.